Hello and welcome. This is Kristen from the Online Selling Show, and I'm here to say welcome if you're new to the channel. If you've been here before, I say welcome back. I appreciate your time for coming and watching my videos. This is a vlog video that I have set up for myself. I have been an e-commerce seller for 22 years, and I've currently been doing this in a wholesale business model for about 10 or 12 years, and maybe even 15. I don't even know how long it's been. Definitely more than that, because you know what? Friday, September 13th will be 11 years since I quit my job at the state of New Jersey. So I'm going to say I'm probably close to 15 years in the wholesale market. It has just flown by, I'm going to just tell you. So anyway, didn't mean to go on that, but we've been, I've been growing into a second eBay business. I want this secondary eBay business to provide like a six-figure income as supplemental to our retirement income. We're looking to retire in the next 2 to 3 years. So this is what this channel is growing that secondary business. And I did one video on talking about preparing for Q4, because one of the things I found in all of my years was that people would talk about like, oh, Q4, like it's gonna be so busy and you gotta be prepared, but nobody actually told you what is it you're preparing for. Like, you know, it almost sounds like the hurricane's coming, but where's my list? What am I supposed to do? Like, is there instructions or, you know? So I did the part one, and I realized one thing is I want to say as a wrap up to part one that I should have said is that I grew into all of the things I'm telling you about, whether it's the stuff in the part one or what I'm going to get into for part two. All of this stuff was things that took me many, many years of self-analysis and analysis to just the circumstances around my life, and having to accept some things too. And I'll get into that, but I don't want you to take what I'm saying and you feel like why can't I get all this done? Why am I not at this part or not being able to handle it that way? Again, my obligations and decisions are going to be different than what your decisions are going to be. And you know, I had one kid, maybe you got 4, I don't know. Maybe you don't have any kids, but you have a big family you have to take care of that's extended. I don't know. I'm just here to give you some thought-provoking suggestions or things that can be maybe rethought in a different way. So having said that, as I'm still in this preparation, today is September 10th. 2024, I'm still in the preparations of how to prepare my own business and personal life for this coming season. And I'm talking about the business, not just of this growing eBay business, but the wholesale business in general. And I'm realizing as I'm doing some things that like, oh, I should have mentioned this, or oh, I should have mentioned that. And it's kind of like, well, you know, there was so much to talk about. So I'm going to do some of these. Maybe there'll be another one after this one too. I don't know. But one of the things I realized I should have mentioned is I have automated as much of my life as I can. And I know some people may have some hesitancies or bad experiences from that, but just hear me out. One thing was I have automated as many of my bills as I can, many, many years. And that's like the first thing if something comes along is like, how do I automate it? Even like my mortgage, I'm blessed in the sense I don't have anything escrowed on my mortgage, so I know exactly what my mortgage is going to be. Those are set up. I go in every August and I do it for the whole next year. Same with utilities, anything and everything. And I know you may say, well, that's great, Kristen, like that you have that kind of financial income or security that you can do that. I'm going to just tell you, maybe you can start it with one bill. Start one place and just start as you're getting more comfortable. But one of the things I've learned is I've had to get financial education, and I had to get real with myself and my husband and my kid through all these years, because I wasn't going to be able to rein anything in and start being able to get to this point until we all had that group thing. And honestly, my husband was more into this like pay yourself first mentality. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about with pay yourself first, I highly recommend you read Profit First from Michael Michalowicz. Talks about it in a business sense, but honestly, we've been doing that on a personal basis since before we even got married, honestly. So I've automated everything I can financially. I've also automated things like leaving feedback. Like seriously, on eBay, you can't leave negative and neutral for buyers. So when the buyer pays, it just leaves, you can put in different ones so they're random. Just put it in for yourself. Just save yourself that aggravation. So it's trying to go and leave positive feedback for people and whatever. Seriously, just automate it. The other thing I've automated is the filing of non-paying bidders on eBay. I believe it just files automatically on the 4th day. I just periodically will go into there because I like to put those people on my block bidders list. That's a choice you can make. That I do have to do myself. I wish that they would automate that as well, that if you have to file a non-paying bidder, it goes on to your block bidders list, but I haven't seen that happen yet. So some of the other things that I've done as a point of knowing is there may be obligations that you know already that are going to happen. Like maybe every year for the Christmas party at work, you're bringing in a cookie tray and you get it from the whatever store. Call now, order it. I mean, seriously, maybe, you know, I mean, obviously if you have to pay for it and you don't have the money right now, pay for it as soon as you can. Take care of all of those kinds of minutia of stuff as you can. If you know that you're going to be taking cupcakes in for your son's birthday party, order them now. Maybe the party isn't for 3 months, but I don't think they're going to turn your order away. It would just be more, it'll be just so much better for you to know that that is out of your plate. Some of the things I've seen people do, I love to journal. I highly recommend journaling. My journal started basically when I left the state 11 years ago, which is hard to say that, but it helped me so much in documenting when things were happening, because maybe like, God, last year was really horrible. And then you may go back and read your notes and be like, yeah, it was horrible because 2 of the kids were sick. The school shut down. They had this half day and my mother couldn't take the kids, because whatever it may be. Maybe you did, you're starting to say to yourself like, well, what was my big sellers for Black Friday weekend? And you may think like, oh yeah, I sold a lot of product X. But then if you go back and you read, maybe you had one buyer that bought like 20 of something. So you're remembering in your head, like I had this great weekend. But then when you realize like maybe it was only 10 sales, but one sale was this huge thing. So maybe in your mind, you're building up this whole like, oh my God, you know, Black Friday was nuts for me. And then you go and you're reading about it and you're like, well, no wonder it was nuts, because I had that one anomaly that happened. So journaling to me is very good. It helps me get stuff out. I seem to find that when I read my journals that it's funny, there's things I'll write in there I want to get accomplished, and then I go back and read and I've accomplished them. And I think a lot of times it's because in my mind, as I'm writing it out, it's almost like a commitment to myself. And I'll repetitively keep through that, you know, like, oh, I want to get this done. Oh, I need to get this done. Oh, I got this done. So it just reaffirms all that stuff. Highly recommend. And you may start saying to me like, well, Kristen, when do you have time for that? When do you do this? When do you do that? I'm going to tell you, you know, my son was in travel soccer. He was in some different things like at the school and things like that. I used to take the 5-10 minutes, like, do you ever go to pick up your kid at soccer? At least maybe fill the blank in with something else. I'd get there and the coach would have to keep these kids for like another 10 minutes to give them some kind of whatever pep talk, lecture, whatever. I used to keep stuff sitting right in the car with me. Like if it was Christmas, like, or coming up to Christmas, I would keep like my Christmas cards with me, for an example. I could sit there and write out 6 or 8 Christmas cards, and the time he's giving these 8-year-olds like the senseless lecture that they're going to forget about in 2 minutes when they get in the car with you. So I would just do that kind of stuff. Or like, you know, I would go to pick him up from school and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. I would do that kind of stuff. I would get my phone calls out like in the car while I waited. Whatever those 10-minute little intervals are. I think the Mommy Income group talked about, they called it like the 15-minute hustle or 5-minute hustle, something like that. I had purposely set aside certain projects that were those little somethings for those time periods. And that's honestly how I would get it done. I know some people are saying like, you got to wait till you get to work, or you got to wait till they go to sleep. Some of that, yeah. But honestly, there was a lot of like little things that I could get done. You know, sometimes you need to just run and go get something. So I would drop him off for practice, run, go get it, and come back. Like, there was no sense for me to have to just sit there for that 45-minute or hour practice or whatever they were doing. I mean, you know, I'm sure you're probably doing some of that anyway. And then I guess I want to wrap up on this last one, which is give yourself permission to say no. And that may be like you're saying to yourself, like, well, what, like, no. What I mean is, just this week it's happened to me on a few different things. One is somebody wanted me to commit to a lunch, and it's one of my prior sales reps that I really, really like. And we were originally talking about trying to get together and have lunch like at the end of this month in September into the first month of October. And we were conversing back and forth, and I said, you know what, let me know when you're thinking about, and when it gets close to that date, we can commit. Now, I know in the part one, I said, if it's important to you, you got to put it on the calendar. I'm not saying she's not important to me, but I don't know if that lunch is one I have to do at that point in time. And I was willing to give her like a, we'll see when it gets close. Then she came back and she realized that there was tough timing going on in her life for that, and she wanted to commit to the first week in November. Well, I've already set up that November and December are absolute no's. Absolute no's. And I'm going to tell you, I say they're absolute no's, but I can tell you right now, almost every year, unfortunately, I have had a death of some sort between my personal family, people that we know that we're close with, and we've made it work every time. I had surgery in there at some point, so yes, I'm not saying that life doesn't happen and things do go on in those times, but because I set them up as an absolute no, I have the ability to take on those life events because I'm not trying to make cookies for a fundraiser. I've already pre-planned what I can for my sons. I mean, I would do his birthday invitations in October because I wanted him giving those birthday invitations out a month before his events because people get busy. And I took care of what I could before November 1st took place. I had a second person just reach out to me today wanting to know when is a good time in October. She wants to try to get together with me. And I had to tell her, I said, I appreciate it, but honestly, between now to the new year, I can't commit. I'm not saying it's not a definitive because I've already written off November, December. It's not going to happen. But if she comes up with a date, maybe in October, maybe I can make it work. Maybe. It's going to depend. This is a runaway train in my wholesale business right now, and I don't know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. And if you're finding that the eBay business gets to that point of having to be this overwhelmingness, then you need to cut off everything by saying, I don't think it's going to be able to happen right now, but I can try to commit to and give them a future time. So give yourself that permission, because for me, honestly, I knew Christmas Eve was going to be for my family. Christmas Day, I've even told, like, unless they're coming to my house and you're not expecting a whole big meal, we do very leisurely kind of thing because we have worked our off. We take completely the whole Christmas Day off. So I have had to get to that point where I'm not trying to hit every family event or everything that gets thrown our way. We do have a party coming up in the first weekend of November. We expect that. We know that's coming. That is on our calendar every year. That is one that we will put on there. My son's birthday, December 9th. I've let him get out of school. He's been doing it since he was like about around 10. When I started to get to that age where it was getting more difficult to buy stuff for him, I made it an event. He got out of school for the day. We went up to some of the big malls that had like Lego stores at it in our area. We made a whole day out of it. It was me and him. If it happened to fall on a weekend, we went on that weekend. It still happens now. And that is one of the things that is an absolute, and it gets on the calendar. Other than that, unless it's one of these family emergency situations, it doesn't happen in November, December. Sorry, but I've had some people get upset with me, that my friends, and I'm like, if you can't understand that, I can't fix that for you, because this is my only form of our income. And you know, I've had some extended family situations that I myself could not resolve in any way, and I made myself available at a time when I could be available. And I understand that for some people that's going to become difficult, but you have to look at the long-term goal. And if this eBay business that you want to do for yourself is going to become that outlet of something to be for your family, there is going to be absolutes, maybes, and, you know, all the times. And maybe all the times can happen 9 months out of the year, which is how it happens for me. When we get into September, October, we're into the maybes for me. November, December's are no's. So I hope this gives you some idea what I'm talking about when, you know, what I mean when I say I'm preparing for Christmas, for Q4. And that's what I can think of for now. I'm hoping you got some inspiration on that. Would appreciate a thumbs up if you did. Please leave some comments down below. Tell me if you got anything out of this. Maybe it's raised more questions and I can help you with resolving some of them in some future episodes. Appreciate if you help me grow this channel by subscribing down below. Not only does it help me grow the channel, but it will put my future episodes into your feed. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you for your time.